What is extremely rare, but people think it's very common? Story 1. Autistic people are geniuses or savants. I work as a behavior therapist for autistic children. Many people seem to think that autism means a child is only socially awkward but incredibly book smart. The huge majority of the clients I work with are far behind in cognitive development, which leads to them being far behind in education and related areas like reading and basic math. I just wanted to add that I love my job and the clients I work with. I feel blessed to be able to work with them, and they amaze me every day, regardless of their level of intelligence and functioning. This is not to say that savants or highly intelligent, gifted people with autism don't exist. They do, and I've met them as well. Autism is a spectrum, so you will meet all types of people with it who are completely different. No single person with autism is exactly the same way as any other. I was just pointing out that autistic geniuses are not as common as the media portrays. Story 2. Epilepsy being fall to the floor, spaz uncontrollably, froth, and all that due to flashing lights. Epilepsy is recurring seizures, and there are lots and lots of seizure types, and often they aren't noticeable, even immediately for the sufferer. Triggers for these seizures are more likely to be hyperventilation, stress, alcohol, or sleep deprivation, or stuff like that than strobe lights. Epilepsy is also pretty common, and it's likely you go to school or work with someone who has it, in reverse of this title. Story 3. OCD, or obsessive-compulsive disorder, has half the population acts as if they have done it, but only a small percentage really do. Humans just generally like symmetry and tidiness. This doesn't even relate to actual OCD much, but people are ignorant and naive. I have a minor case where I would tap on things 4 times and took meds that helped me with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But it would strengthen my OCD to where I'd get paranoid in an odd, repetitive kind of way, constantly checking things. The ADHD medicine also made me pretty much have no appetite, meaning I'd be so tired because I rarely ate, thus messing up my metabolism. As soon as I stopped taking my medicine, I ended up gaining a lot of weight because I could finally eat properly for the first time in years. I'm currently dedicating this year, 2019, to losing weight and focusing on my passions despite my stupid disorders. Story 4. Astronomer here. Total solar eclipses. Obviously, we know that they're not common at any given point on Earth, but you'll have about 1 year somewhere on the planet, so it's not unreasonable to see one if you plan a little. But with that context, it turns out that our moon is the only moon we know that is the same size as the sun in our sky. Mars's moons, for example, are captured asteroids too puny to cover the sun's disk. And the further out you go, the planet's moons are so big, it more than covers the tiny size of the disk. So with that, 100% of total solar eclipses where you actually get the sun obscured and see the corona and all that jazz happens on Earth. And this effect won't happen forever either, because the moon is moving away from us a few inches every year. And in a few 100 million years, no one will see a total solar eclipse anymore. Story 5. Their kid is anything above average. 50% of kids are not above average, ignoring the number that would be exactly the mean or median, making it less than 50%, or average, in context means the accepted range near the mean or median with outliers above and below. Most kids fall in the accepted range, while their parents believe them to be outliers, usually because of 1 or 2 specific attributes that appear exceptional when they are overall average like everyone else. Story 6. Amusement ride incidents. You are safer on the ride than driving to the park itself. The vast majority of incidents that occur are because of rider misconduct. Follow the rules, trust the operators, and you'll be fine. A lot of people are asking about carnival rides, and I'd like to differentiate them from permanent amusement rides. While carnival rides are built and inspected to certain standards, the temporary nature of the rides puts them in a separate league from the permanent amusement rides. Story 7. Real vanilla. There was a ton of vanilla available a couple of years back, which in turn drove the prices way down. So the vanilla farmers of Madagascar and Indonesia, who are pretty much the only ones farming vanilla orchids, said, "Screw orchids, I'm burning the trees they grow on and planting something else." Farming orchids is a real labor-intensive chore, and they are picky plants that need hand pollination, which is transferring pollen by hand from one vine to another. This takes forever to do. Now they are vines too, which means once you cut down trees they grow on, you can't just go, oops, prices are up again, better grow the orchids again. No, you have to wait until the trees they wind up into are grown. So vanilla is now scarce and expensive as hell, and it will take some years before that changes. Meanwhile, we're all paying around $30 for 3 ounces of vanilla. Everything with a vanilla taste is with added vanillin, which is the chemical vanilla tastes like, but it's nowhere near the same taste as real vanilla, which is delicious, delicate, and awesome. Story 8. Blue eyes. Genetically, blue eyes are recessive, meaning that any dominant trait can cover them, and only 2 recessive genes will create the color. It comes from a lack of pigmentation, resulting in the clear blue color you see. Statistically, blue eyes are some of the rarest in the world, green being the absolute rarest, but colors such as black and brown widely overwhelm them. The same is also true for red hair, which is also recessive. Often people assume that people with red hair have green eyes due to the Irish stereotype, but statistically, this is one of the rarest combinations of hair and eye color on the planet. Story 9. Terrorist attacks in the sense that people and governments preoccupy themselves with planning for and preventing them in a drastically overstated and often counterproductive or ineffective manner relative to their incidents. Because when they do happen, terrorist attacks typically affect large amounts of people at once and receive a large amount of media attention. At any given time, you will be able to recall a specific incident and infer that since so many were affected by it, the chances of it affecting you are especially high. They are not. It is an invalid inference. You will almost certainly not die in a terrorist attack. Story 10. Wild animals are ambivalent or friendly with humans. It's absolutely staggering to see videos of people trying to mount a wild horse, getting mere feet away from a deer to get a picture, or seeing people kayaking up to a loon with its baby at the lake. We don't live in a goddamn Disney movie. When approached, that horse will not hesitate to kick you. That deer is sizing you up for before it charges, and that loon will absolutely tear your shit up with its beak. Nature is to be respected, and wild animals, no matter how beautiful or cute they are, must be observed from a distance for your safety and theirs. If it looks hurt, stay away and call your local fish and game department for animal control. Story 11. Psychopathy. People call a lot of other people sociopaths or psychopaths, but the reality is that only 1 to 3% of the population has an antisocial personality disorder. A bit close for comfort if you think of it as a stadium full of 50,000 people, as 500 to 1,500 people with ASPD or antisocial personality disorder. But it's not commonplace or anything. Also, you'll kind of know when you meet someone with ASPD depending on how functional they are. My sister worked on a locker floor in the psych ward at a hospital, and a patient who had ASPD on the more functional side was always trying to integrate himself with staff, super painfully obviously glib, in hopes of them buying him wood. A person with more functional ASPD, I've met my share of them as CEOs, doctors, and lawyers, generally just did f***ed up things as kids or young adults, such as killing animals and pets or stealing small items from convenience stores. One man I know who did this was about 10 to 12 years old and would steal cigarettes to smoke them. They've learned to tame that behavior and are charming to people on the outside as adults. These stories will come out in a relaxed, social setting though. Personally speaking, however, they're very superficial and don't self-reflect or feel the need at all. They laugh about scamming people or a system and don't think twice. Everyone around them is considered stupid or inept. They're the ultimate geniuses because they manipulate and use people. Although in truth, the average person would not manipulate or abuse people just out of some kind of moral compass, not as a result of a lack of intelligence. They're not good at learning from past mistakes and continue in self-enriching yet destructive behavior even after being formally socially sanctioned. A CEO I knew only felt bad after his company got busted for some kind of corporate fraud. His company and only about 30 to 50 people unemployed. Not super huge. His company got shut down and he felt upset about it, so now is a functional alcoholic. An average person's response would be to, well, not engage in fraud in the first place, and also, if their lives were to fall apart, to reevaluate their behavior. This guy in particular engages in sketchy dealings for tens of thousands of dollars, gets his, and gets out. He's done this for 30 years plus. If you were to meet him, though, he is a God-fearing family man who is fairly popular in his church. He's very charming, nearly everybody likes him, and all of his employees love him. I would honestly like him too, if I hadn't known him personally. Story 12. I don't want to speak for everyone in every situation, but for the most part, home invasions and robberies. Growing up, my family never locked the door to our house, and we have never once been broken into. I've never locked the doors to my car, and it's been searched and robbed twice in the last 12 years. I don't leave anything valuable in it. The only person I've ever known who had their house robbed was when he was in college and lived in a rough part of town. I currently try to lock the door to my apartment, but forget very often, and it has never been broken into. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to lock doors just in case, but I have friends and roommates that act like every time you leave a door unlocked, somebody will break in and steal everything. Story 13. That if laws didn't exist, people would just go apeshit and start killing each other and driving like madmen. People seem to think that if you take away a law, everyone would start breaking it. Most people don't do bad things because they have morals. The laws and consequences are not what stops them. It is basic human decency, fear, and being reasonable. Yet the fear that everyone will go crazy allows us to give up our freedoms daily because we think everyone but us will start breaking them. Our laws in the United States have gotten so crazy that the average American adult commits 3 felonies a year and doesn't know it. The big directory in Congress that is supposed to be up to date with the laws hasn't been up to date in years because they pass laws too fast to do so. Lying about the weather in writing is a felony. Touching an endangered animal even when it would die without help is worth a potential 10 years. I could go on and on. Stop giving your rights away because you think all your neighbors are psychopaths afraid of breaking the law. They aren't. If all driving laws stopped tomorrow, most people would continue to drive the same way. Those laws are there to generate revenue, not protect anyone. Story 14. Helium. It's an inert gas, which means it doesn't bind with other elements to form molecules. So you can't just pick up a random rock, make it hot, and it sweats out sweet, delicious helium like iron or aluminum or whatnot. It is also lighter than air, so once it's in the atmosphere, it will rise to the upper atmosphere out of reach. The lower atmosphere, that's where we live, has close to no helium in it. The only way to get it is by waiting some billion years until radioactive atoms break down by alpha decay. It's slow, it's mostly happening deep within the Earth, and it's only poorly concentrated. It may accumulate in gas pockets within the Earth by diffusion processes, but concentration still sucks. Natural gas fields contain 0.2% helium, so when you liquefy the gas, you can capture some helium as a byproduct. So please use hydrogen for balloons at your kid's birthday party. It's cheaper, it's in the water, and you can always liven up the party by holding a match close to it. Story 15. I just read a gym-related comment and figured I'd debunk a few myths I hear folks speak about. Number 1. Fit people are anorexic or nearly so. No, we aren't. We really aren't. The sheer mass of food I have to consume daily is insane. I eat 5 times a day, and I am still falling short on protein intake. Shakes help make up the difference. I consume probably about 2,000 calories a day, and I'm losing fat and gaining muscle weight. 2,000 is a rough estimate as well, since I don't really keep track of my macros. Those shredded guys at the gym, I'm nowhere close to that, eat. They don't just eat McDonald's for every meal. 2. Steroid usage. Look, folks think that all guys and gals at the gym who are huge use performance enhancers. And guess what? Most of them don't. It does nothing. The most any of us take is pre-workout shake, and that's about it. Because once you build muscle with steroids and then stop using it, what do you think happens? You lose all the muscle you made, and you stop gaining, and you suck at it because you never had to put in any effort. 3. Meatheads at the gym. Sorry to say, folks, but at least where I go, folks aren't meatheads. They're very nice people and generally pretty smart about their respective fields. One of my university professors goes to the gym and he's buff. Want to guess his subject? Computer sciences with pecs that match his degrees. 4. You're not born for it. Every guy and girl at the gym started at the same place. When I started, I could barely do 90 pounds on the leg press. Only one set, too. And now I'm pressing 160 pounds about 40 to 50 times. Everybody started at the same place, and all people I talked to were very nice and helpful. I even got a fist bump from one of the random buff dudes who goes there. Didn't even get his name or an exchange of words, just a fist bump. 5. You have to spend hours at the gym to get anywhere. No, you don't. Even using free weights, I'll spend at most 45 minutes doing so. My average is about 30 minutes of weights and 30 minutes of cardio. I have gained about 25 to 30 pounds over the past few months doing so, and am much stronger than when I started. If you have to spend hours at the gym, you are probably taking very long breaks between sets. I do about 10 seconds to a minute depending on how far in I am. Or, I have seen this, sitting down on your phone for about 30 minutes doing nothing. Any person in this thread can get in shape. As long as you eat well, I still eat out sometimes too, just not every day, and stay consistent, it isn't hard. If you go to our fitness, there are tons of nice folks, and most gyms have really awesome people and are willing to help. There's so much crap surrounding being in shape, but you can totally do it.